Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave update for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 for Thursday, April the 25th, 2024. What a difference a day makes and what a difference a couple of earnings reports make to your count, to the future of what's going to happen in the next moves, to what the market's, how it's going to react, to what reacts with it. All kinds of things kind of just really came back into play this afternoon. Not so much during the day. During the day, we saw Meta continue to react to the earnings that came out, and not so much at the earnings report itself as much as it was Zuckerberg saying that he is going to spend up to $40 billion to further the cause of his virtual reality goggles and also AI. And the market didn't like that. But right now, they're like, hey, maybe it's not so bad, right? Google comes out with basically kind of blowing the doors off. Microsoft also good report, putting in good earnings reports showing a lot of positivity. So Microsoft up about $19 off of that. Google, on the other hand, up $21 off of its earnings report. Google also saying they're going to do a buyback. Google also saying that, well, this is the first time we're going to pay a dividend, et cetera, et cetera. So both, good deal. Google actually didn't report poor revenue from advertising. In fact, that revenue looked pretty good to me, being at $61.66 billion. So again, big company continued to make big money. So that's going to support the market right now. And so you may sit and you go like, well, how does that then affect going forward and what's going to happen? It's like, I don't pretend that I can forecast forward what I think is going to happen to the economy or going to happen on a geopolitical level or just going to happen in terms of inflation and the Fed and what's going to knock everything down off of the pinnacles that I believe that we're going to be reaching. That's going to all just fall into place on its own. But what Elliott Wave does do for us is like it has left us, as for me, with two potential possible outcomes to what we're going through thus far. And I have to tell you, while I'm getting a little bit stronger on saying that, well, looks like that was a minor 4 down there, and that we are now coming back, start coming back up in a minor fifth wave. No, leaving it yesterday, I gave you the other side because that appeared to what was going to come through. But that again, on an assumption that, well, maybe Microsoft and Google won't blow doors off, will have something also similar to Meta, and the market will turn sour on it. That did not happen. That's why I kept both alive and presented both and continue to present both. So today, relabeling, putting it back on, ABC, down, minor wave 4, we're off to the races. Now, I got to tell you, in both the NASDAQ and in the S&P, this just really doesn't count real clean. So, but we're going to go with it because I can't really say that this is even, if I did, maybe I'm going to put a minuet wave 1 here. And this is a minuet wave 2, and then we're in the minuet wave 3, 4, 5. And that's just going to put in the minute wave 1. But I'm going to start with the minute degree. I'm not particularly happy. It's kind of convoluted. But if I kind of just even take this down to, this is kind of what I did before. I went down and opened that up. And I thought, okay, now if he had to make something out of this, that's obviously 1, 2. And just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 3, 4, 5. That's a possibility. That's a possibility, even though most of the time you're looking for like, well, not really sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how I'm kind of coming up, saying, okay, that's our first wave up. People are going to say, oh, you're stretching. People are going to say, oh, you're going out on a limb. It's like, no, not really. I'm trying to interpret what the market did. I'm putting an Elliott label on it, which fits this. Because to try to say, well, maybe this is A of two of a wave of a whatever corrective wave, or this is going to be a B, and it's like, no, none of that fits. So I go with what does fit the best. So in other words, here coming off in the NASDAQ, ABC ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, C, wave 2. It's not the prettiest, it's not the cleanest, but nobody ever told you that Elliott was going to be that way. At least I never told you that Elliott was going to be that way. Elliott can be very congested, very unclear, and you really have to dig and you really have to kind of go down and keep looking and counting and figuring. Now, that's been my experience, and I've been doing Elliott since 1989. And I've been publishing my Elliott work since the mid-90s, 1990s. So I gather all of that experience, and that's where I come up with how I'm going to present it. But let's go back to what I have been presenting since last weekend. And that is that I narrowed it down to 2. Both I was considering my preferred count. Both up until right now, I gave a 50% probability to each one as being the ultimate that's going to come out. Now, mind you, we're kind of done with the big tech earnings for this week. Tomorrow being Friday, it's an expiration. It's going to be interesting because what's following through now? Now we have NVIDIA that closed at 826. It's trading 843. NVIDIA is a chip. NVIDIA has nothing. Well, they've got AI, right? So maybe Google's going to buy NVIDIA's chips. Who knows? But the fact that the stock just kind of begins to rally really strongly. SMCI rallies strongly on that news. Even Tesla. Let's just go above. Come on, let's just go up. Now that I think is expiration plays. Tesla's earnings definitely weren't like, let's just keep pushing because they're going to be great, because Google's going to be great. So this across the board, what I see is like, some of it's going to last, some of it probably won't. How much of it's going to come out in tomorrow's earnings? And that goes for NVIDIA, Netflix, Tesla, Apple, right? But you see how the overflow is like, well, if Google reported good, Microsoft reported good, well, Apple's going to have to report good, and NVIDIA's going to put in a good report, et cetera, et cetera. And that thinking can go on, but I'm not going to go out on that limb and say, well, that's what's going to happen. I have no idea. I'm not going down to all of these press conferences at Apple Computer, even though it's in my backyard, so to speak. I live in San Francisco. They're down in Silicon Valley in Cupertino. It's about an hour's drive, but hey, not that far. But again, let's stick to what I have thus far. This post-earnings little run is pretty strong, and they're going to keep it up here. Now, if we get overnight follow-through and we get follow-through tomorrow, we're likely going to be up into here. So what are we looking for? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 3, 4, 5, very likely. Even if I just put this out like this, 3 would be equal to 1 at 17,945. Well, I'm always looking for more, as you know. So here we have 1.618. Well, we can get 18,339. Well, that's a 500-point rally. Can the NASDAQ do that? You know it can. You know it can. Let's just top it off. What do we got coming out tomorrow in terms of economic data? We have PCE. Now, if PCE comes out and shows that inflation remains problematic, what could possibly upset this entire apple cart? Well, that could. Because what comes on May the 1st? So tomorrow's Friday, we get the PCE, and then May 1st is next week. So I'm just saying, We got a bunch of stuff going on that could really upset this apple cart. So is this going to be an A, a B, and a C up? And I'm going to somehow have to pull this back out here, right? This is going to show you A, B, C, A, A, B, C, B. Or this is somehow, I haven't worked it out yet, but I got to let the market just play this all out. So is there a possibility where this still is the high? Yeah, but at this point, I maybe that PCE will come in and the market will go, we love it, no matter what, we love it. And they're just going to go with it. And then we rally, and we rally strongly. Remember, we just need to get above. Just need to get above 18,709. That's the current all-time high via the NASDAQ future. And we get up there in 5. We've got a third wave in motion. I've got this, where 618, which is, I know it will exceed, but that could just complete maybe this third wave at 18,367, 100%, which is where wave 5, minor wave 5, would be equal to what minor wave 1 at 19,142, and that certainly breaks that high, breaks it by a lot. But in all honesty, it doesn't have to get there. That's just an indication. This, and 5 waves up, just needs to get itself above that level at 18,709. And once that occurs and I can count 5 up, we may be done. Remember what I've been saying all along. My longer term view has not changed. Regardless of, these great earnings, what the market wants to now interpret, it's like, it can't stop. It's like, but it can. It can. We don't, I don't predict the future, but I know that there's change coming. It's just kind of being geared up in that fashion. Back to today, I am believing right now, I'm going to show you as if we are in that fourth wave, done, and we're in 1, 2, and we're in the third. Now, I think the third will come in at 1.618 times the length of wave 1. That takes us all the way back to 18,003, let's say 339, 340. Maybe even as high as 370 up into there, right? Could we put in a 300 to 400 point rally tomorrow? We could. They love that PCE data. We're there. But trust me, that's what I believe. I believe the algorithms will absolutely go ape, you know what, and get it up there. But if they don't like it, what do I have to kind of consider? Still, maybe this is wave 3 and this is wave A and this is going to be a B wave, and we come flying down in a C wave, or somehow I'm able to work out what this actually is going to be a 1, 2, and somehow the 3, and I don't know. It just gets really kind of bizarre. PCE comes out, maybe it's up here. As long as I don't take out that high, which almost seems now, it's like, well, that seems pretty unlikely with overnight stuff and all the rest of it. So I don't know. But if it didn't, and we come flying back down, wow. Then what is it? Right? It can be just wave a 3, a 4, and we're just tumbling down in that 5th. 4 big and ugly, 4 whatever. I'm gotta keep both sides going here. But to tell you the truth, this is how I'm labeling it for today. That was a strong reaction. It was a strong earnings report out of both Microsoft and Google. They are very, very large corporations that have a ton of money. Google has enough. and they've set aside enough, they can buy back $70 billion worth of their own stock. So, money is not a problem. So again, we got to now just play it day by day. So for tomorrow here in the NASDAQ, I'm going to make an assumption that we will continue to see some strength in the upside. This market closes in a minute. They are not bringing it down. They are holding it higher. I would suspect, unless something dramatic happens between when this closes and the next hour before Globex opens, that we're likely going to continue to move higher during Globex. So I'm going to look for those higher levels tomorrow. The moving averages, well, you can kind of see. Well, let's just kind of look at it this way. See the 50? Put on the brakes, start to work your way higher. That just happened on this, right? The 13, the 20. Okay, oh, sorry, we're not going to go down anymore. The 200 going flat. So that will provide resistance on the 4-hour chart. It's a 4-hour. It is an EMA at 18,007. We got resistance, and that's just above 17,945. So we shall see. Got a little bit of recovery going in the RSI as well. All right, over in the S&P. Wow. Also, same kind of deal, did a rearrangement and now showing that that's the minor 3, and we got an ABC, and I put the minor 4 underneath there. A little bit cleaner, but still 1, 2, and it gets tricky here. It truly better counts as an ABC up. It really, really does. ABC down. But here's our top. Here's the line, 5190. Do I think? So again, both sides. This is the way I'm labeling it because I'm thinking, okay, wave 1, let's just put a tag in here. Here is for the, if this is indeed minor 4, here's minor 5. Look where it goes. 53.67, 56 for 100%. For 100%. Okay. So let's take a look here. What can we look for in this third wave? Well, we can kind of get one quick view. 100% is 5187. Well, we got that at 5190. So if this kind of comes in as an ABC, doesn't break above there, which is going to be really close, and just takes a tumble, well, other count could come into play. And then I reverse it all back out again. Now, no, I'm not being wishy-washy. I'm attempting to read the market, and this is what they're telling me day by day by day. I've kept both alive for that exact reason. And I know there's some people that are leaving me comments and say, well, if you replace this, this, and that, that's what it is. I can tell you what, I used to do that. That's what it is. That's what it has to be. And most of the time it's because I was allowing one of my positions to do the talking for me. Now, and I'm not going to say that anybody else is doing that, but that was always my reasoning behind it. It's like, and whether I was wrong, then I would get all angry. Now, back to the S&P. Same deal here on the 4-hour chart, where we have our moving averages, at least the 13 and the 20. I remember I combined the 5 and the 8 to make the 13, and then here's the 20. So the green is the 13 period moving average, and then this. Just takes a lot of that noise that you can get on these charts from the 4 and the 8 and clouds it up, and there's the 50. So the 50 was kind of going flat after, doing this, and we get a little of that, and now just a little head up right there, right at the very end. 200 is still pretty flat. 51.56, which is a fairer piece away from. If that 4-hour 200 holds this market all the way till we get PCE, and PCE comes in not like it, they're going to say, no way. and this thing makes a quick flash and turn. The second preferred count, which I showed yesterday, which I took off to show this one today, because they're running side by side, 50% probability to each one, could be the ticket. Now, underneath all of this, I get that people carry positions. I get that firms carry positions. I have people that I provide analysis to. And of course, they're wanting to know, well, what's the probability? And I'm like, well, it's 50-50 right now. That's the best I can do. Why? Because of what the market is telling me. The market is not consistent on either way. Look what they did yesterday with Meta. Look what they're doing today on Microsoft. What are they going to do if NVIDIA doesn't come out and do something that the market's going to love? That's mid-May. That's mid-May. So are we going to be done with this? And then it's going to be NVIDIA's earnings that's going to turn it and drive it lower? Right? I don't know. What about AMD? What about AMAT? What about Amazon? What about the stuff that's coming out next week? You know, Intel. And like poor little Intel, but huge Intel. You know, they drove it lower, but now it's coming back a little bit, but still it's going to be down. It's down about $3 after their earnings. Didn't like it. So again, still a lot to come out. Still a lot of information. The Dow manages to finish down 375, while the NASDAQ goes up 152. Disjointed markets, and so it's not as clear as people want to think or ask analysts to be, because those answers aren't just coming. So for tomorrow, I am going to be looking for a continuation to the upside, a continuation of everybody's happy, everybody's turning back to bullish. We had some flipping around in volatility, but suddenly that stopped. And now you see that now that vol is, the VIX is closed for right now, it's 15 bid at 1625. And they brought it back down. They brought it back down after it was trading up on the day. So, flipping positions around, it's been pretty wild. It's been pretty wild. And again, option flows. And again, volatility. So what effect does that have on Elliott? Actually, I'm still working on that one. It does have an effect on Elliott, but now I have to really kind of sit and get a think tank going, like, well, how is it really affecting how we label, how we count? Is it changing some of the patterns? Is it producing new patterns? Is it producing ones that we need to kind of figure out? Does it have to become something brand new? Elliott Wave is based on the writings and the teachings of R.N. Elliott. The changes that we make, we still might think we can call it Elliott Wave, but I'm kind of different. I'm like, well, no, it still could be a methodology of producing, emotional, reactionary trading, which is what we are, right? We're human beings. We trade with emotions, basically greed and fear. And so those are measurable. We can see those in patterns that repeat and repeat. Why? Because we're human. We don't change. The market doesn't really change. We just react. But certain things have come in. We have AI, we have algorithms, we've got all kinds of different things that aren't necessarily reacting as we did just as plain old human beings having to put an order in. Now it's an algorithm that goes, I read the news, I read that report, boom, I'm out there buying, because it's already been programmed to how to react. So there are changes. So I'm going to be looking for this to continue to move higher. Now, if they keep it below 51.87, waiting for PCE tomorrow, could be very telling. If they take it above and bring it back down, slamming it, it's going to present another very difficult picture. But that can happen, folks. Don't be believing that the market can't do something. Not anymore, because I'll tell you, they might just come down like they did last Friday and slam dunk, NVIDIA again, and also super microcomputer again, just like they did last week. So NVIDIA back above 850. The last time it was like up here getting closer to 900, they went, no, 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 you're not expiring up there. And they slammed it down to 700. And Supermicro Computer was trading from like 1,000 or even, I think it might have been higher. And they brought that down to 700. So these are massive moves. Are they going to do it again for expiration tomorrow? It's not a monthly, it's just a weekly. I don't know. We'll see. So resistance in the S&P 5187 and above that, I will likely be able to, once I get this guy going, all right, where I can count the internals here. I can bring it down to the 1 hour chart, and we're going to open it up, and you can see, well, what do I got at best? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. So that's at best. So even if I just did a simple here, put that there and put this here that you're looking for. Well, you got your 100, it's already come up and cleared it. But where's the 1.618? 5168, still below the 5192. So we can figure this stuff out, but and still I think is going to sit and wait for PCE. There's only so much goodness that we're going to have with these earnings. But there's filling in some of the blanks so that we have some resistance, even the internal. Too many in here, and so I apologize. And I will be taking out this one so that you can see it clearly. So it's going to be, that one is for the minute, and then we went inside to take a look at the minuet. And the minuet comes up right here as well. So wave 3, we got it 67 to 87. That's where we think it actually might come in, or just 3 of 3 can come there, and then a 4 and a 5. And that one might take us all the way up to here, depending on that PCE. I'm going to leave it right there. So again, just to review and to say, tomorrow, basically all we have is personal income, personal spending. Those are at 8:30 a.m. But then also with that, the PCE Index. And we got that, the year over year, the core year over year. And then at 10 a.m., consumer sentiment, the final version for April. And so that one I'm not expecting to have that much of an impact, but PCE, that's the cookie for tomorrow. And that's the one I'll be waiting and looking to see how the market wants to deal with that one. Okay, so the next Elliott wave update will be on Monday the 29th. I believe that is the 29th, on Monday, if I'm doing my math correctly. Yeah, the 29th will be the next Elliott wave. I will attempt to, again, do a big picture update on Saturday. And in the meantime, have a great trading day tomorrow and have a great weekend.